Bitcoin miners are up, down, and all around today. We started at a very low here and moved our way up in the early hours and then bled off the rest of the day with most of the miners, especially here we've got CleanSpark up. I'm going to be doing a video very quickly on CleanSpark. This is not a deep dive like I did on Bitfarms and BitDigital. I will get to that on CleanSpark, but not today. We've got a bit of an urgent pattern that I'm seeing in the chart today on multiple Bitcoin miners that I wanted to talk about here. And I'm just going to highlight CleanSpark because honestly, it's my favorite one right now. I have a lot of CleanSpark. I have a lot of the ones I talk about, but this is not a financial advice nor a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. But let's get into this and take a look at these charts and news for CleanSpark and a few other miners while we are at it. All right, so CleanSpark is forming a pretty clear head and shoulders here. We've got shoulder, head, shoulder. This has a price target to end this move around $13. That would be the end of this formation specifically, but there is room for it to go all the way down into this box here around 11 or even down to 1050 to close this gap. So that could happen. That's very possible. If we look in the past here, if we look in the past here, this looks very familiar, doesn't it? Same sort of formation. This one took a little longer to form, but it also took a little longer to build up. So we had shoulder, tall head, shoulder, bleed off, and that bleed off was to the next little part of support down here around 660-ish. And if we do that same sort of move, we'll be moving down into our support, which is previous highs around 13 or all the way down to about 1243. That's where I would expect there to get some support. And if that fails at all or falters or Bitcoin doesn't, reach a new 52-week high in the next month or very, very soon after the halving, then we can see it bleed down to that 1050 range. I am prepared to weather that storm and deal with the fact that it could go to that. I don't think it'll go much lower than that. In fact, I'm not even sure it'll get to filling this gap. I think there's a good amount of support back here around around $11 that will probably prop it up, especially with how aggressively we've been seeing the dip be bought. If we go down to the 1 hour chart, yeah, you can see pretty much anytime there's a big sell-off, we've been buying it up. Big sell-off, bought it up, sell-off, bought it up, and then it's getting weaker though, as you can see, it is getting weaker. Let me turn on the volume so we can see what that looks like. The volume is, yeah, it's getting lower as we go forward in time here. So that is also showing weakness and confirming my suspicions that we've got a head and shoulders coming in here. Uh, Let me get rid of that. It looks like this line I drew here is probably going to be a bit correct. It's going to be on a slightly different time frame. You can see here we started off around here, we came down for a bit, then we went back up, and now we're coming back down again. And if we break this 13 line here, I think this red arrow is going to predict the next move, which is to move down through this gap, if that occurs. Now, I am looking at around 13. I'm going to be, honestly, I bought this morning. As soon as market opened and I saw that it was down like 9% at $15, I started buying some shares. Now, I did not buy tons of shares. I bought like 40 shares or something like that, like not a lot. Around 13, I'll probably add 100. Around 10, I'll probably add a few hundred to my pool there. Or I'll buy like 3 or 4 or 5 calls options for 2026, leap options, around there. Again, this is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. It is simply the plan that I am forming for my goals. You need to form your own plan, do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and make your own decisions based on your own financial situation. If you can't handle a $5 drop from $15 down to $10, then you need to really reassess what you're doing with these assets here and with these stocks. But they can do that. They will do that to you. That's just the reality. And we can see here, I mean, if you were looking at this at 1924 and thinking that was a good price, 15 is a better price. And, 13 is an even better price and 1050 even a better one. So that's my mentality going into this after the halving sometime around July this year. I'm thinking that 19 is going to be a time that I reminisced about how I could have bought it down that low. Uh, I mean, even when you have lots and lots of shares of these things, FOMO is still a thing. Like when Bit Farms went from $1 to almost $4. I had thousands of shares and I still felt like, oh, I could have had more. So like FOMO is a real thing no matter what you have. And I feel like it's even harsher when you have a lot of shares just because that like that primal feeling of greed inside of you starts coming out, and you need to tame that. Otherwise, it will get you. Don't let greed get you. Take profit when you see profit. If you've made enough, take it off the table. Protect yourself. Protect your money. That's important. Anyways, Clean Spark. Why am I so bullish on what's going to happen with Clean Spark here going forward, even though it is bleeding off right now and will likely drop another $4 or $5? This news. This happened last week. And we got like no jump off of this, did we? Let me see here. I know that was too fast for anyone to read and I didn't say what it was. But let's find the day. Right here. Boom. It was at the top of the market, right? 19 something. This came out that day when we reached the top of the market. We got this news that they increased their hash rate by 40%. They just announced that it was already online. It was already happening. They bought a facility, it's online. They increased their hash rate 40% in one press release. And all we got was a sell-off right after. That's nuts to me. We're CleanSpark is already 40% on the way toward maintaining its market share of the Bitcoin network after the halving. That's amazing. None of the other miners are doing that. None of them are that far. They're posting profits on quarterly earnings. They're 40% of the way toward maintaining their market share after the halving. Plus, plus they've got a plan to reach 20 exahash. So basically reaching that 100% increase, that doubling of their hash rate by the end of summer, just in time for that July rally. And this is all the way back in January. I mean, it's not that far back, but back in January, they're talking about how they've got a path to 50 exahash, which would be insane. That wouldn't be just doubling, that'd be quadrupling their hash rate. That would be amazing. I cannot wait for the day that CleanSpark has 50 exahash and they make Marathon look like a penny stock again. So CleanSpark, I'm very bullish on what they're doing. They seem to have very good management, very good ability to execute. And when this gets down to this little box down here, if it gets down to this little box down here, I'm going to be very excited about that. So right now I'm looking at the Head and Shoulders. Let's take a look at Mara. I know I went on way too long about CleanSpark. Look at Mara, same sort of situation here. In fact, I need to fix this because it got way more aggressive than I thought it would. And about right there, and about, let's see there. Let me pull it down a little more. Yeah, that got really aggressive. Look at that. Mara is just falling like a rock. It got just under, just at that $30 mark, and then just whoop, fell right down. Again, Head and Shoulders. We got our shoulder right here, head here, another shoulder right there. This is almost done, actually. If you look at it, it's almost done with that Head and Shoulders pattern. Now, that doesn't mean it needs to stop where it technically should, which is in this little box here around the 21 to 2160 range, the 22 to 2160 range. That's where it should rest and take a pause before going any lower. It doesn't mean it has to, but that's where I'd say that Head and Shoulders is basically played out, is once it fills this gap. And the beautiful thing about filling that gap right there is if I go onto a larger time frame, it's cup and handle. The cup and handle. We got our cup right here, and this is the handle. Cup and handle. If it stops there and starts reversing on this little box, that's cup and handle. I'm going to be very excited about that. In fact, I'm going to get rid of this one right here. Okay, so that was just in the way. So we got our cup. We're forming a handle. If we turn around on this box right here and start bouncing up, I'm going to call that a cup and handle. I'm going to be very excited about that. Just like this little one down here, that was so beautifully explosive. Imagine if this big one is explosive like that. What's that going to take us to? $80 or something? because we went from, let's see, we went from a bottom 16, we went from 16 to 30, we doubled. If this cup and handle plays out and it is as explosive as the previous cup and handle, we could be seeing $60 in July on Marathon. That's amazing. So while this is jumping pretty hard, I'm still very bullish on what's going on here. Let's take a look at Bitfarms. Bitfarms, same kind of thing, honestly. We had we had this cup and handle here on a larger time frame. It looks more like a double bottom, but that's fine. Same sort of formation, just on different time frames. Now we come here. We are looking at again, yes, something like this. Cup handle could come all the way down to around 270, 280, which I think it might hit. This is a target I've been looking at for a long time, 280. Ever since we got over it, I've been looking at coming back to 280. And I want to see it get in there. The 2 hour time frame is showing a bit of a head and shoulders, just like the other ones. You got your shoulder here, head. We got to come a little lower to start forming the shoulder so we can come back up again and then form it and then come back down to maybe the top of this previous cup down here. Whoops. This previous cup down here, which would be around 260. If we get to 260, that'd be pretty exciting for Bitfarms. I don't know if we'll get there, but like that'd be pretty exciting. Honestly, I don't know if we will though, because we're in like this upward channel where it's kind of stalling out here. We'll see what it does. Let's see. What about BitDigital? BitDigital failed the double bottom. So this double bottom here, this utterly failed. We're back under $3. That's not doing so hot. I mean, it did a really good move up, but it's came down. We got a really ugly head and shoulders here on the 2 hour, but it's there. We got a shoulder here, head, and another shoulder right there. We are at the bottom of that head and shoulder. We closed this gap. I do want to see support yeah, support start forming right here where it is at a form of resistance, and I'd like to see it create support here and start bouncing around a bit before moving on up. If it falls a lot further, I'm going to start getting a little bit nervous about its price action because it became very bearish now. As soon as we came below this, and that was yesterday morning, actually, and we've been down there since then. As soon as we got back below $3, BitDigital became bearish. And we're underneath this ascending channel now. That is also bearish. We're doing a megaphone crap. We're doing a megaphone. Dang. All right, that's not good. So basically, we got this point coming here. This is going to be interesting. So stay tuned for me to do these lines. This is a megaphone. This is bad. Uh, Hang it. I was really rooting for you, BitDigital. Yeah, look at this. Just like that. So we've got a trend line on either side of the price action. On the upper side of the price action, it's widening. And also on the bottom end of the price action, it is widening. We've got 2 touches on the top, 1 touch on the bottom. This is dangerous. This is a dangerous formation, this megaphone that it's making. If it comes down and touches this line down here, it could come, well, let me start with, it could come as low as 224. Maybe even lower down to 220. That's what could happen with this formation. Now, the issue is when it breaks, depending on the direction that it breaks, it's going to be bad for us. So if it breaks the lower end of this trend line, we're going back into this descending channel here. And that means that we could be looking at prices like 150. That is frightening to me. Don't like that. Let me just drag this out a bit here, about right there. That looks good. Let me lock that down. Yeah, so if this becomes a megaphone and it's looking like it's trying to make itself into a megaphone, which I'm really not liking that I just saw that. Uh, so we get underneath this support here. If we get under 250, 220 is coming in. And as a bag holder of BitDigital, I'm hoping and praying that at 220 it reverses and goes back up and tries to go for this high up here at $4. Anything short of $4, I'm going to be very, very nervous. I'm going to be sweating pretty hard. If it goes below 220, if it gets underneath this descending line here, we are looking at a re-entry of this descending channel and things start getting aggressive and bad. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not saying that it's going to. I'm just saying that that is a formation that is appearing on the chart now. This is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever, but this is an analysis of the chart patterns that are appearing. Doesn't mean that they need to happen. This might not happen. We could turn around right here now that we filled this gap and just go and see nothing but greener pastures from here on out. That could totally happen tomorrow. I don't think it's going to, but it could. Now we are slowing down. We go on the daily and we look at the volume. The volume is, we are falling on lower volume. That is good. That is really a good thing right here. If you notice back here in the past, when we were falling on lower volume, let me get rid of some of these other things so that they're not in the way. When we were falling on lower volume back here, we reached a bottom point and then we got a green bar, one more red bar that was bigger than the green bar, but it closed out higher than that bar. And then we got a green volume and then green volume and then green volume, and then we just took off. Same thing back here, right? We were falling on lowering volume. Soon as we got a green bar, we had one more bad day and then things started coming around again. So once this volume starts getting low, I'm expecting maybe one more day of bad red volume, maybe a bit down here, have that bar get a bit lower, then we get a green bar, and then maybe one more red bar just to mess with us, and then we see nothing but 2, 3, 4 green bars, and then we're back up here at $4 again. So, I mean, it's a wild ride. This thing's gonna be crazy. But I am excited about it. I'm still not too bearish on this. I don't like this current pattern, this current formation. Now, you could look at this. You could look at this and go, hey, since we started here, we started making higher highs and higher lows, right? We had a higher high, lower lower, but high. No, no, I'm sorry. I can't even make myself feel optimistic about this formation. I don't like it. I just don't like it. This is not a great one. It'll be okay. Honestly, I think in July we'll be looking at 272 and wondering why we didn't buy more at that level. But around mid-March, I think we'll be looking at 272 and thinking, "Oh man, why did I buy there?" That's my thought, and just my luck because this is where my cost basis is. My cost basis is like 265, so like any lower, and I'm losing money on Bit Digital, which is fine. I mean, I've from this back here when we went into the July, after the July rally, I was in at about 320-ish, and I rode it all the way down through this pit down here down to under $2 and then back up to $5. So I mean, it happens. Can't be perfect. We try to time these things and understand what's going to happen, but you can never really truly know what's going to happen. Anyways, that's the update with the price action on these today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Watch for future videos with deep dives on CleanSpark and Marathon and a few of the other miners as I have more time to do that. Have a profitable day.